It's Brainwash with Dr. Tom and Guitar Picks with Rob Seals, Peter Gabriel, Mercy Street.
Peter Gabriel, sort of, I guess I put him on the edge of my sort of in the beginning people and segueing into the singer-songwriters. I loved early Peter Gabriel, and when the So record came out, I had my best friend and I had gone to Atlanta, Georgia for the Amnesty International concert, and U2 were headlining, and Sting was on the bill, and Bryan Adams, who got his first real six-string, he bought it at the Five and Dime, and also Peter Gabriel. And So had just come out, and we had only heard, I think Big was the first single off that record, or maybe Sledgehammer was, I can't remember which. We'd only heard the first single, and I remember seeing him, and every song he played was just incredible that night. Red Rain and In Your Eyes, of course. But I chose Mercy Street because the production on this record is astonishing to me, and working with Daniel Lanois and Kevin Killen engineering, who Kevin Killen has gone on to be a really fine engineer and producer himself. And the production so treats this haunting voice of Peter Gabriel with such stark beauty, and yet builds around it, and it's this very narrative storyline, and he's writing for the poet Anne Sexton, and all, I don't know, all these combinations of the literary and the great production. Just there's sort of a dark romance in Peter Gabriel's songs, and I think this song really brings that to the fore.
Mm-hmm. It's Brainwash with Dr. Tom and Guitar Picks with Rob Seals. Paul Simon, Homeward Bound.
Paul Simon. Golly, how do you choose a Paul Simon or a Simon and Garfunkel song? I think I just love the circular nature of this song, and that intro riff is so nice. But more than anything, I think one of the lasting legacies for me about Paul Simon, I didn't really understand it at the time, was he has this wonderful poetic sensibility. He's such a great writer, but he has a very conversational style to the delivery of his lines. And as I began to grow as a songwriter, I think I necessarily started writing these sort of word salad kind of songs. The idea would sometimes take precedence over the melody, and when at my best, I think I'm approaching Paul Simon's balance of the poetic narrative that's never at the expense of the melody. And I think he's just so great at that. And this is just it's a song about the road, and it's a song about performing and touring, and all the performing musicians out there can relate to that feeling of being in another town, and each town looks the same to me.
Of course, he'd said that he'd written songs that he wished he'd never had, like Feeling Groovy. Are there songs that you've written that you wish you never had written?
Of course. And the crazy thing, there's a story about the composer Brahms. Supposedly he would wake up in the morning and he would compose, and then he would take all of that writing that he had done and put it in the fire and start the fire for the day, and that's how he would warm the place up to practice. And the lesson in that, I think, is that a lot of the great writers like Paul Simon and Sting supposedly will really punch in the morning and bang out hours and hours of writing and write just many, many, many dreadful songs that we'll never get to hear, at least if they have their way. And for them, it's all about sort of doing the intellectual push-ups to get those muscles ready so that when true inspiration strikes, they can do something with it. Yes, I've written songs, sadly, that people have heard, probably that I've recorded. I think we all do. I think as we're trying on our voices as writers and players and performers, we're bound to misstep a few times. I was thinking about the, all that hoo-ha at the Super Bowl with the wardrobe malfunction. And, for me, wardrobe malfunction was how I dressed in the 80s. And I think we, as far as my song catalog is concerned, I've probably got a few wardrobe malfunctions in there too. But I think if we're lucky, either we get a sense of what songs work and which ones don't, or someone close to us sort of says, you know what, not so much. In that one. So yeah, absolutely. Were you trying to hear one of those songs? Is that what you were trying to do?
No, unless you actually want
I will play the first song I ever wrote.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I wrote songs long before I played guitar, and So this is a song that I didn't write on the guitar, and of course my voice hadn't changed. I was 10 years old. But I'll play it in the post-pubescent guitar version, but it's called Jungle Safari. I'll just give you a verse. And it had a very catchy chorus, which you can sing at home if you choose. But anyway, it went something like this. Well, the tiger and the lion, they can keep on crying, 'cause I ain't gonna let them in. They can go back home to where they roam. I guess they call that their den. Now, I was 10 years old. Let's spread that. It's a jungle safari. Here comes the hook. Jungle safari. Okay, anyway, you get the point.
All right.
I was a hook-driven kid then. But, so yeah, that was probably a song I shouldn't have played.
It's Brainwash with Dr. Tom and Guitar Picks with the Rob Seals. Lyle Lovett, If I Had a Boat.
Oh, man, Lyle Lovett. First of all, this song is got to be on my list of if I wish I had written it. I mean, it's got to be on my short list of the I wish I'd written it, because one of the things that Lyle Lovett's gift to me is he helped me understand that you can be funny and break a heart in the same breath, and that you just because you can be funny doesn't mean that you can't have serious concerns or be a serious artist. Mm-hmm. And If I Had a Boat is just such a bizarre reverie about just imagining having a boat and having a pony and riding that pony on the boat. And there's something about the two of these guys I just love. But I think it's one of those bar songs that everybody loves to sing along when the Tonto telling off the Lone Ranger. I'll let the song speak for itself when we get to it. But Lyle Lovett is a genius, and he's also a very fine guitar player. He's someone who, in the Texas tradition, is sort of infusing a little two-step, a little bit of jazz, and a little bit of blues, and kind of an old-school folk sensibility, this wonderful kind of finger-picking style that he does. And, gosh, If I Had a Boat, what a great song.
Mm-hmm.
He just has the ability in a few minutes to turn a phrase that can completely turn around. And he takes an idea in the first verse, and by the final chorus, it means something totally different. He has a song called "The Difference Between God and Me," and ultimately the pivot in the song is that God would forgive this woman who scorned him, and he wouldn't. And you think all along he's talking about how inferior he is and how not as good as God, but in the end that twist is that it's really about this "you done me wrong" kind of thing. And man, I mean, when you can put the knife in one line, that's a real dexterity, and he's got it.
It's Brainwash with Dr. Tom and Guitar Picks with Rob Seals. John Hiatt, Have a Little Faith.
John Hiatt. Well, I wanted to put John Hiatt on here, and again I chose a piano song because this is a song that's been covered so often now that and in fact John Hiatt even covered his own song in I think a lesser version. That original version from Bring the Family is just so amazing. The vocal is stunning. It's slightly broken and out of tune, which I can really relate to, and, but so heartfelt and powerful. And when you understand how quickly this record was made, and the kind of ground rules for bringing the songs together, and you understand the kind of in the moment performance that he delivers on it. Mm-hmm. That's just a staple, an amazing, haunting love song, and that wonderful pivoting piano line that opens the song is just so moving to me. He's a great songwriter, and he's also someone, he talks about basically not having any more education than about 10th grade, but having the education of a lifetime, and in a pickup truck and driving around the country and touring and performing, and his songs are as wise as anybody's. And I went to graduate school and got a degree in poetry, and poetry writing is really important to me, and I'm fairly well read, I suppose. And here's somebody who reminds you that the most important lessons are often right in front of your face, and it takes a really wise, insightful, and dexterous person to perceive and put them in a way that's simple, that every man can understand and relate to and be moved by.